Here was a time when cars didn't predict your mistakes. They didn't soften your errors, recalibrate throttle position, smooth torque curves, pull ignition timing, or vector power across differentials to preserve your ego. Before algorithms began silently rewriting the laws of physics in real time, driving was not a curated experience, it was a negotiation. A constant exchange between machine, environment, and human instinct. People today think driving is about speed. Back then, it was about survival. Before microprocessors, before electronic fuel management, before digital dashes and adaptive torque mapping, every input had weight. A slight movement of your foot determined whether the engine stumbled, detonated, or roared to life. The steering wheel transmitted not filtered signals, but raw vibrations from the road, telling you exactly where grip ended and chaos began. The clutch demanded precision, the brakes punished hesitation, and the gearbox refused to hide your mistakes. Driving wasn't a convenience, it was a craft, and somewhere along the way, we lost that craft. We transitioned into a world where cars became guardians, not partners. Machines that follow the driver's commands shifted into machines that override them, convinced they know better. We gained comfort, efficiency, speed, and accessibility, but we traded away something irreplaceable: the necessity to learn, feel, understand, and master the machine. But to understand what we lost, we need to return to the era before silicon, back when every horsepower was mechanical, and the most advanced computer in a car was the driver. Long before traction control and stability programs, cars were governed by analog systems built entirely on mechanical principles. Fuel delivery came from carburetors, venturis, jets, vacuum signals, float bowls, and mechanical linkages. Airflow wasn't measured by sensors, it was influenced by temperature, altitude, humidity, barometric pressure, even the angle of the road. There was no EQ adjusting timing curves. Timing was fixed through springs and centrifugal weights in a distributor, physically advancing based on engine speed. If conditions changed, the engine didn't adapt on its own, you adapted it. Drivers carried tools. They tuned idle screws on the roadside. They adjusted jets in the pits. They changed timing with a wrench and a cigarette dangling from their lips. Knowledge wasn't optional, it was survival. If the throttle stuck, you lifted the pedal with your toe. If the brakes faded, you pumped them and prayed. If the tires lost grip mid-corner, you didn't wait for stability control, you fought the slide yourself. Modern cars isolate drivers from consequence. Old cars forced you to earn control. And that requirement forged a different kind of driver. One who understood sensation, reaction time, balance, weight transfer, throttle modulation, brake feel, clutch travel, things that algorithms now simulate for us. Driving analog cars didn't make you faster. It made you responsible. Analog legends weren't neutral. They had attitudes, tempers, personalities. They rewarded bravery and punished arrogance. Take the Porsche 930 Turbo. Rear engine, short wheelbase, huge turbo lag, and a boost curve that hit like a shotgun blast. Below 3,500 RPM, the car fell asleep. Then suddenly, full power arrived in a single, violent surge. If you lifted your foot in fear, weight transferred forward, traction disappeared, and the rear axle snapped violently outward. Many drivers met guardrails, cliffsides, and newspapers that called it the Widowmaker. Or consider the Ferrari F40, no traction aids, twin-turbo V8, raw mechanical steering, a chassis that communicated everything yet forgave nothing. At high speed, the car didn't glide, it attacked. Every vibration was transmitted through your spine. You didn't drive an F40, you endured it. Then there was the Roof Yellowbird, a car so fast, so unstable, so brutally analog that most drivers in the world today wouldn't even get through the first corner without spinning into dust. It demanded balance, not aggression. It forced restraint where modern cars reward excess. And yet, these weren't flaws, they were the point. A machine without forgiveness forces mastery. A machine that saves you teaches nothing. Group B was the climax of analog performance, an era where mechanical technology outpaced human capability. These cars weren't just fast, they were lethal. They represented the final stage of a world before computers stepped in to protect us from ourselves. The Audi Sport Quattro S1E2, with its flame-spitting anti-lag, brutal power delivery, and short wheelbase, demanded reflexes beyond natural human limits. The Lancia Delta S4 mixed supercharging and turbocharging, creating a power band so aggressive it felt like the road surface changed with every millimeter of throttle. The Peugeot 205 T16 redefined mid-engine balance on dirt, while the Ford 200 rupees valued sheer power more than stability, sending drivers into physics-defying chaos. These machines didn't predict traction, they discovered it. They didn't stabilize themselves when weight shifted, they amplified instability. They turned every corner into an act of voluntary survival. When spectators lined inches from the road, they weren't watching cars, they were watching fate negotiate with talent. Group B didn't end because the technology failed. It ended because humans did. Cars reached a level where reflexes, not bravery, became the limiting factor. If computers had existed to stabilize those monsters, Group B would still exist today. But the world wasn't ready to accept death as a feature of motorsport. So instead of slowing down the cars, we made them smarter. Group B's death wasn't just the end of a motorsport category. It was the moment humanity surrendered control. Instead of pushing biology to match machine speed, we invited software to fill the gap. We traded human skill for algorithmic compensation. We entered an era where safety became synonymous with assistance, and performance became dependent on calculation rather than craft. This shift was subtle at first. Fuel injection replaced carburetors not because drivers demanded convenience, but because computers could extract power with precision humans could never match. Electronic timing replaced mechanical distributors because microprocessors could make millions of adjustments per second, while springs and weights could make only one. Then came traction control, ABS, launch control, torque vectoring, active suspension, dual clutch transmissions, predictive AQ mapping, electronic differentials, and now, AI-trained stability systems that learn how you drive and silently correct your mistakes before you even feel them. Modern cars are not fast because humans evolved. Modern cars are fast because humans became optional. And nowhere is this clearer than when you compare how the same power behaves across eras. Group B's death wasn't just the end of a motorsport category. It was the moment humanity surrendered control. Instead of pushing biology to match machine speed, we invited software to fill the gap. We traded human skill for algorithmic compensation. We entered an era where safety became synonymous with assistance, and performance became dependent on calculation rather than craft. This shift was subtle at first. Fuel injection replaced carburetors not because drivers demanded convenience, but because computers could extract power with precision humans could never match. Electronic timing replaced mechanical distributors because microprocessors could make millions of adjustments per second, while springs and weights could make only one. Then came traction control, ABS, launch control, torque vectoring, active suspension, dual clutch transmissions, predictive AQ mapping, electronic differentials, and now, AI-trained stability systems that learn how you drive and silently correct your mistakes before you even feel them. Modern cars are not fast because humans evolved. Modern cars are fast because humans became optional. And nowhere is this clearer than when you compare how the same power behaves across eras. There were once techniques every serious driver was forced to learn: heel and toe downshifting, clutch feathering on corner exit, left foot braking for balance, manual brake bias adjustment, throttle steering to control rotation, modulating brake pressure on surfaces with no ABS, reading traction purely through vibration and sound. These weren't advanced techniques, they were baseline requirements for survival. Modern cars eliminated these skills. Lost skill replaced by heel and toe rev matching, dual clutch gearboxes, weight transfer control, stability control plus active dampers, braking modulation, ABS plus brake assist, steering feel electric racks with filtered feedback, turbo lag management, electronically controlled boost maps, traction through throttle, torque vectoring plus TC. We didn't just lose techniques, we lost responsibility. Analog driving forced you to understand physics on a personal level. You felt understeer through your fingertips. You sensed brake fade through your spine. You recognized impending oversteer from sound before the slide even began. Today, the car feels it before you do, and corrects it without telling you. Modern driving is passive participation. Old driving was a conversation with nature. There's a dangerous misconception in modern culture that progress always improves the experience. But technology doesn't just add, sometimes it replaces. Modern cars didn't just add comfort, reliability, efficiency, traction, and power. They replaced the very struggle that once defined driving. And once you remove struggle, you remove mastery. You remove identity. Driving became fast, but it stopped being personal. A computer-stabilized corner doesn't tell a story. A perfect launch control start doesn't build skill. An electronically corrected slide doesn't leave a scar on your memory. Cars once demanded a relationship with the driver. something emotional, intimate, even violent. You learned a car the way a blacksmith learns steel, the way a pilot learns turbulence, the way a fighter learns pain. You didn't choose driving modes. You earned them. In the final years of analog motorsport, something terrifying happened. Cars became faster than humans could physically correct. The Audi S1 E2 could generate more acceleration than human reaction timing could safely process. The Lancia S4 could go from boost to death in less than a second. The Peugeot 205 T16 was so twitchy that even champions spun without warning. These machines weren't designed to be controlled, they were designed to test the limits of human evolution. And then, catastrophe struck. Accidents didn't just kill drivers. They killed spectators standing inches from the road. Group B wasn't shut down because cars failed, it was shut down because humans did. That moment, the ban, marks a philosophical turning point. Before, improve the driver until he can master the machine. After, improve the machine until the driver can't make a mistake. We didn't slow down, we automated survival, and that choice shaped everything that followed. After Group B, regulations shifted globally. Cars became heavier, safer, quieter, more predictable, more electronically moderated. Racing categories adopted standardized power limits, boost restrictions, aero restrictions, safety cells, rev ceilings, spec ECUs, capped tire compounds, standardized fuel mixes. The era of violent individuality vanished. Gone were cars that behaved like beasts. Now, cars behave like products. Even in consumer vehicles, fear disappeared. Loose gravel became a driving mode. Wet conditions became a sensor package. Oversteer became an algorithm. Cars were no longer gladiators. They were guardians. And while safety is undeniably a gift, it came at a cost we rarely acknowledge. The driver stopped being the protagonist. Today, automotive culture is full of drivers who believe they're fast because a computer optimized their inputs. A GTR corrects throttle overuse. A BMW M4 limits torque to prevent spin. A Huracan calculates your steering slip angle. A Tesla applies power in perfectly managed vectors. Modern performance is the simulation of mastery. The human isn't fast, the software is. If you disable every assist in a modern supercar, 99% of drivers lose control instantly. Not because the cars are bad, but because drivers never learn to drive. Most don't even know what driving feels like without permission from electronics. A modern car doesn't trust you. And deep down, drivers no longer trust themselves. Today, raw doesn't just mean loud, manual, turbo-laggy, or mechanical. It means a car that refuses to protect you. True analog driving today means no electronic throttle intervention, no traction control, no stability systems, no ABS, no torque vectoring, no electric steering filters, no torque mapping, no automatic rev matching, no drive-by-wire logic, no safety net. Only a handful of modern cars still offer that experience. Mazda MX-5, Caterham 7, Porsche Cayman GT4, AIDS off, GR Corolla, track mode, manual bias, resto mods like Singer and Roof, and of course, aging legends, E30 M3, R32 GTR, Supra MK4, F40, Countach, 964 rupees, and countless forgotten analog weapons. Owning these cars isn't about performance numbers. It's about preserving a culture. It's about choosing danger. It's about taking responsibility for consequences again. The analog spirit isn't dead, it's fragmented. We see it in drift culture, rally revival events, hill climbs, manual-only car clubs, analog resto mod builders, grassroots track days, time attack teams running standalone ECUs. People aren't nostalgic for the past. They're nostalgic for accountability, for machines that let them fail, for mistakes that meant something, for the feeling of being alive behind the wheel, not merely transported. Technology will continue to evolve: AI driving assistance, predictive traction systems, neural network suspension, EV torque shaping, self-driving lanes. But there will always be a resistance. A small group of drivers who push back. The last analog generation. The cars of today are faster, safer, smarter, undeniably superior. But superiority isn't the same as soul. We didn't just lose carburetors, manual steering, or turbo lag. We lost fear. We lost responsibility. We lost the bond between human and machine. And somewhere in that trade, driving stopped being a craft and became a service. But legends like the Audi Quattro S1 remind us of a different truth. Speed used to be earned. It used to have a cost. It used to be human. This was track lore. Where history isn't rewritten, it's rediscovered. Subscribe, and I'll see you on the road that's trying to kill you.